Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Git Good at OpenRCT2. Now first I will show you something I sometimes see people do when they're trying to make a seating area for their shops and stalls. So first let's make some paths here. So let's put some shops and stalls here. And then what people usually do is put some paths here in between. And they call it a food court. Well, if you're doing scenario play, well, by all means go for this. But if you're trying to make a realistic park, you should really avoid doing this. In my opinion, this looks really ugly. Let me disable the rain. In my opinion, this looks really ugly and also very unrealistic. Something else I sometimes see is just sort of like this. Well, this is already a little bit better, but still you could easily make this look much nicer. Something like this. This already looks better, but still there's an even nicer way to do this. So I will just quickly remove this and then I'll show you how I typically approach this. Now first of all, I typically like to put my my stalls inside buildings. That way they usually look much nicer. Sometimes for example, I put an ice cream shop just normally outside the building, or just a simple shop or stall. But for example, when I put a burger bar or hot dog stand, I like to put it inside a building. It usually looks a lot nicer, and I really like decorating buildings, so that's usually why I do it. Now, if you want to make a seating area, in this tutorial I will not show you how to make a building for it. I will show you some examples later of how I approached it in other parks. But for now I will just show you how to make a better seating area, better looking in my opinion. So, let me remove these. How I usually approach this, I put an unconnected path here. And when you then put benches on it, you can see it has benches on all sides. So then with Tile Inspector, we can simply take this path piece and then we copy and paste it several times next to the shops and stalls. There we go. And I want to have a little table there. So for that I enable the pagoda theming. We'll take the lily pad or lily. You have to disable clearance checks. Don't forget to put a nice color for the flower in the middle. And there you have it, a little seating area with tables in the middle. Now the guests cannot use this seating area yet. So in order to do that, you have to go to Tile Inspector. And then we need to connect these paths to this seating area. So to do that, we simply select the paths here and we just connect the edges. We do the same here in the middle. We connect all the edges here, and again here we connect the edges. You can also see the edge of the path now changes, and you can also see the handyman now walking on this little seating area. Now then you can put a fence around it, or you can make a building around it. I typically make a building around it. Now you can see there's still grass now between the benches. So when it's outside, you could, for example, just put dirt. Now it looks like a path. If that's not enough for you, you can also just lower the ground under it. and then instead, for example, make wooden blocks under it. There you go. Now you have a nice little seating area here, which in my opinion looks a lot better than what I usually see people do. No, you shouldn't make your seating areas too big, because every little square is a junction, and it can really mess up the pathfinding of your guests, but also of your staff if you make too many of them. I had some parks where I had some big seating areas, and in the end all of the staff was walking around in those areas. So yeah, just keep them small like this. This is more than enough, and also looks quite nice. Now I will now show you some examples of how I use this in some of my parks, and then after that you should also be able to do this. Alright, here you can see my Future World Park. It's still a work in progress, but usually for the stalls that I made in the park, I use this trick for seating areas. So here, the second floor of a building, and there's actually a pizza stall here, and actually next to the pizza stall here I put some benches, some seating areas, and I put it right here near this near this open wall, just so guests have a view of the outside, and the viewer can also see the guests sitting around here. Here's another building with some stalls. There's a sub sandwich stall and a lemonade stall. And you can see I put some seating area, so some seats around it, and I actually put it behind the windows. I think it gives quite a cool effect. Now here's another building. Here I used all these benches just to fill up this building. Well, if I hide scenery it looks really messy, but these seats are mostly just behind the windows, and it's just to give it a more of a crowded feel on the inside. You know, it's really boring when it's just empty behind the windows. Alright, here you can see my entry for the inverted coaster contest. Here you can see a little building that I made, burgers, steaks, and also here again you can see these benches here, so with lily pads for tables. I'm now hiding the scenery. You can see there's a drink stall and a burger bar right here, and you can see all the guests walking around here. Now you can see some mechanics here. I think they're trapped, or they're having some trouble pathfinding because of these benches. So yeah, that's a side effect of you doing it this way. So yeah, keep in mind that it can lead to some issues sometimes. Alright, and here's the final example. This is my entry for the dueling coaster contest. Here you can see this building with the name Bronto Burger. Again, there's a burger stall inside, and you can see these arched windows here, and behind the windows, well, maybe a little bit difficult to see, but again I put these seating areas here with the benches and the lily pads, and yeah, I put some tracker texture on top so you cannot actually see the stalls here, but they are inside the building. Well, you can actually see them here. Right, and here I put another little seating area. I actually hid the stalls inside these wagons, and next to it I made a little seating areas for the guests. You can see them eating their hot dogs here. Alright, this is just a few ways how you can use this. Oh yeah, there's just so many ways you can make this look nice. You can use all sorts of different benches. If you don't use custom scenery, the lily pads are really the best thing you can use for tables. I've seen some people use mushrooms for umbrellas. I don't think it looks quite as good, but with some fantasy you can use it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this tutorial is useful for you, and I will see you again in the next one. See you later.